Thank you for checking out crypto.chartguys.com, the source for technical analysis in the cryptocurrency world. We are proud to announce our own crypto alert system designed to give you the most critical technical trading information possible no matter where you are. Keep your eyes on the market with mobile or email alerts for MACD crosses, RSI levels, and even inside bar alerts for dozens of coins across multiple exchanges. New features and proprietary ChartGuys indicators are already in development. Our alert system is very easy to customize and utilize, so don't hesitate to sign up for the most effective crypto trading tool on the market at crypto.chartguys.com. Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. So we're going to be looking at the big three here, but going to start a little bit different. I just did a one-on-one lesson with somebody in person and just want to go over some things that we were talking about there that I think that everybody can find useful. And then we'll do the normal analysis for the big three, and I'm going to be looking to go live tomorrow, perhaps tomorrow morning. I don't like to box myself into a certain time, but let's say 10 or 11 tomorrow morning, I'll go live and we'll look at some altcoins, and I will interact with the YouTube chat and answer some questions. So let's start it off with what we were looking at today. So we woke up this morning and said, okay, let's analyze the situation and see where we stand. And we do that with Bitcoin first, and we start on the longer term time frames. I start on the 4-hour chart because that's what I was watching yesterday. We were looking at the inside bar, and it did get an inside bar bear break. The bulls then formed another inside bar and got a bull break. So we have our hourly, or I should say our 4-hour higher low and higher high, and we are now in another inside bar. But what we were watching when we woke up this morning was we were at the top of this move and we were at the high of the candlestick. So if you wake up and you say, I want in on this move, the bulls have proven themselves. You know, I didn't get an entry right on the break of resistance, or I didn't enter on the consolidation last night. So I'm looking for an entry, and what are my clues and what am I looking at to know when to get in or whether I should wait or not? So the first things that stood out to me were I was looking at the top of this candlestick, this green candlestick, and it was 3 big green candlesticks in a row. And that's 12 hours of bullish action. And I look back and say, ever since we've dumped from, 10, 11,000, we haven't seen 4 green candlesticks in a row. So the odds that we're going to see continuation are not entirely high. So I want to be patient. I want to look for some consolidation to make an entry. So I look at Bitcoin on the hourly chart. And again, at that point, this was at about 9 in the morning here. We were up here at the highs. So this is when we were looking, and I can look at this and say, okay, we had one little bull flag in the mix, but this is a lot of bullish hourly action without a lot of consolidation. So again, that's another signal that I want to be patient and I want to slow down and I want to wait for a little bit of consolidation. So I was looking then at the 15-minute time frame. It's a clear 15-minute higher low pattern that had the bulls in control, and we started to pull back. So once we started, first things first, we analyzed and said, okay, we want to be patient. We don't want to be making an entry right now. We want to wait for some consolidation. I also posted in the chat room, keep an eye out for the back test of the exponential moving averages for an entry point. The bull flag bounced right off of it, and here we are now. This low bounced just above it. But what we were looking for was the start of consolidation. And once we started pulling back on the 15-minute time frame, we said, okay, here we go. This is the consolidation we were looking for. And when you start to pull back this significantly, we didn't really break the 15-minute higher low pattern. So that's signal number one that we should be looking for an entry now. And also the 5-minute time frame. When you're after a bull break, the first time the 5-minute RSI hits 30, you generally get a pretty solid bounce. So here we are, the RSI hit right at that 30 level, and the bounce then followed through. But as soon as I see this kind of pullback, and again, I'm looking at the 15-minute and the 5-minute the most as the pullback's going on, and I'm saying, okay, this kind of a pullback, I'm looking for an equilibrium pattern. We're coming off the high. It's a solid pullback. The odds that the bulls are going to V-shaped recovery and continue is not high, especially when you have declining bull volume. That increases the odds significantly that a lower high is coming. So it was the magnitude of the pullback comparative to the high, and the fact that the 5-minute RSI was hitting 30 that we could begin to look to scale in and then look for that equilibrium to play out. So had you made an entry on this pullback, we would be looking for either locking in your profit, anticipating the lower high and keeping those gains, or setting your stop loss to break even and letting the equilibrium pattern play out and hoping that it breaks bullish. So I saw all of this start to form, and I said, I'm looking for a 4-hour inside bar now. And at that point, there were 3 hours and 40 minutes left in the candlestick. And I said, that's a really long time to be, anticipating that we're going to form an inside bar. But I'm looking at this 15-minute chart. It looks like an equilibrium's coming. If it is, that equilibrium pattern is going to take hours to play out. So let's look if we get a 4-hour inside bar. On that 4-hour inside bar, let's say that short-term entry, we either locked in our profit or we set break even and we're going to get stopped out break even. Too soon to say, but if we get a bear break of this 4-hour inside bar, which does still have 2 hours to form, but it does look like it's forming right in the middle there. If it breaks bearish, we're going to be looking for a bull entry once we start to establish a higher low. And we'll be using, let's say, the 15-minute time frame. Once we go from lower highs and lower lows after a bear break, once we start forming 15-minute higher lows and higher highs, we'll anticipate that our 4-hour higher low has been formed, and we'll be looking for this to be playing off of this support. And we know that if the higher low here is lost, that's a big red flag for the bulls overall. So that's if we get a bear break of the inside bar. If we get a bull break of the inside bar, it's going to tell us that we have very healthy consolidation. This is still hourly a bull flag potential that's currently playing out. And if we were to see this bull flag and then continuation, that would be a 4-hour inside bar bull break. And again, I'm doing assuming on that 4-hour inside bar, but for educational purposes, let's just assume that's how it's going to form. And it would be a bull break and continuation of this hourly bull flag. And the next major resistance that I'm looking at, there's a couple resistances along the way. It's the high that we have right now of 9476. Then I'm looking up at 9621. And then the key level that really stands out to me is 10166. So the bulls are definitely still in control. We got that pullback last night that led to a 4-hour higher low. And now we are seeing nice bullish follow through. And the question is going to be, does the 4-hour chart have to consolidate again to form a higher low, or can we get over these exponential resistances and see nice continuation and follow through? We did already get our bullish MACD cross on the 4-hour. The daily chart is trying to confirm the bullish reversal hammer from yesterday. Again, this daily chart is not going to change the trend on this bounce. It's going to set a lower high. And I would be looking for this exponential resistance, which has rejected the last few bounce attempts on the daily. So that would be a short-term target. A rejection from the lower high, or the exponential resistance, a pullback, and if we get the higher low and the higher high and the bull MACD cross, that will let us know we have follow through. So again, we're going through all the time frames since this bounce ever started playing out. We started with the 5-minute. Okay, first things first, we need a 5-minute higher low and higher high, or this bounce isn't going to do anything. It gave us that very quickly. Then the 15-minute. Okay, can we do it on the 15-minute? Can we do it on the hourly? And each takes longer to play out. So for it to play out, it's the bulls continuing to prove to us that they have momentum. So they just proved it on the 4-hour last night, and now we need proof on the daily. And again, it's going to take multiple days to play out, so we have to be patient. If it plays out on the daily, we're going to the weekly, and we're going to say, okay, weekly chart, is our higher low on the weekly going to be set? And I'm going to be looking for a weekly equilibrium with the way this is playing out, which is why I've been bullish on this weekly chart overall, because I keep pointing out, 5,500 was the last consolidation we had. So we're looking for an equilibrium, exactly what I just said on the 15-minute time frame, with the magnitude of the pullback compared to the high. And then once the bounce plays out, I'm looking for a higher low on the weekly, which is entirely possible, is at 7,500, which we just hit. And then I'm going to be looking for a bounce and a lower high to be set somewhere perhaps in the 14,000 range. And again, this is all just visual, has a lot of time to play out. It's not going to happen quickly. But this is when I look at this chart and I say, okay, if we're going to get a bounce, I'm looking for an equilibrium pattern. That's my target. I'm looking in that 1400 area. And then from there, we'll look for a higher low and a tightening range to play out probably into April. We'll see how long it takes. So it's also important to note that the longer term you're looking, that obviously the more variables and the more potential for FUD. So the less confident and the less percentage chance of playing out. In terms of, technical analysis, I'm not predicting anything. I'm looking at what's the most likely scenario to play out. And the further I'm looking out, the less the odds of it playing out because of the different variables and the amount of time in between. So that's something to note as well. The 15-minute time frame is much easier a prediction for an equilibrium pattern than it would be on the weekly time frame. So let's get into some of these other names. Again, very similar correlations. Litecoin, when we get really, really extremely oversold and overbought, Litecoin is the one that gets the most gains in terms of the bounces. And that is definitely a trade-off in terms of the less liquidity and a little bit harder to buy and sell large positions. But like I said, last year, I made 66% of my profits in the cryptocurrency space with Litecoin. And the reason for that is the magnitude of the bounces. And of course, the beautiful bounces that we have had in Litecoin over the past 6 months. So here on Ethereum, we'll start with Ethereum first. We got the daily chart forming an inside bar, and that's because we had a more significant dump. So Bitcoin is not going to be a daily inside bar because it already hit to a higher high. Not the case for Ethereum. It looks very likely to be a daily inside bar. So it's certainly worth watching, and we'll be looking at, right now, obviously, Ethereum is the most bullish on the longer term charts overall because it is coming off of that all-time high more recently. And there are a lot of fake outs on Ethereum. If I were watching, I said this today, if I were watching only Ethereum on the chart, I'd say, man, there are a lot of fake outs here, and technical analysis is hard. But all of the fake outs are related to the Bitcoin correlation. We have had times, including here on the daily chart, where we head to a higher high and then the move gets completely erased because Bitcoin drags the price with it. And I've seen this on shorter term timeframes as well. So again, that's the reason that we see a bull break and then a lack of follow through at times is because Bitcoin never made the bull break and then pulls back and it takes Ethereum with it. So that's important to note overall. And that is what happened on this daily chart right now. So again, you're going to have a really hard time charting Ethereum if that's all you're looking at and Bitcoin is not the main part of your analysis. So checking in on the 4 hour, we got our higher low, higher high. We have a bearish reversal doji on the 4 hour, rejecting from exponential resistance. Again, inside bar bear break said the bulls aren't ready. Inside bar bull break said now we are. And we are looking at consolidation right now. You could call this a bull flag of consolidation. And it's not going to be a 4 hour inside bar because of the pullback that we had. Hourly time frame, healthy consolidation. Again, was telling people this morning when we were up here to look for consolidation to the hourly exponential support to be looking for an entry, and that's exactly where we bounced off of and saw some nice follow through. The 15-minute time frame is seeing the same equilibrium. Again, the pullback that we had, even though we broke this support, so we didn't break a clear support that was established on Bitcoin, but we did on Ethereum. But again, that doesn't mean anything to me because I am making the trade based off of Bitcoin's chart. So, and it didn't matter in this play where we see our bounce and there's our nice follow through. So in the 940s, and look at the 5-minute RSI didn't get oversold here, or actually it did. It got double oversold is what I meant to say. So it hit oversold, and that wasn't the bottom. It wasn't the first time, and it's all because Bitcoin wasn't ready yet. You look at the 5-minute, and Bitcoin did not hit oversold that time. So that's Bitcoin saying, nope, I'm not ready. I'm still going down to this oversold level that we're going to bounce off of. And because Ethereum got there first, it had to dip under there twice, and it gave a little bounce fake out. So again, if I were looking at only Ethereum, I'd say, man, I thought the first 5-minute oversold RSI normally is going to give me the bounce and the low there. It didn't because of Bitcoin. So again, a really nice parallel between the two and showing the importance of why Bitcoin is the chart to be watching as long as this correlation is as strong. So here we're watching for the 15-minute equilibrium break. The hourly chart is healthy consolidation. And it's about same thing, whether or not we're going to consolidate and form a higher low on the 4 hour and look for an entry later tonight, or whether the bulls are going to see a little mini bull flag and then bull break in continuation with 10,000 or 1,030 key resistance after the high of 1,000. That's another thing as a reason that we weren't looking for an entry this morning is because you have that looming wall of 1,000, and the play here is what we call taking out insurance. If you're in a position and the bulls are a bit extended and you're heading to a key psychological resistance level, you're going to be looking to take some profit before the wall. So I would be locking in profit in the 994, 997, that range, and looking for a pullback and an inability to get over that resistance. And back when the bulls were in control of the trend, I would then rebuy into the wall if it is going to break. And again, it costs me the price and fees and a couple little dollars in between, but the risk to reward in terms of protecting that profit, locking it in case of this scenario where we just pulled back, $56 or $50 from the high because of that looming resistance and because we were a bit overextended on the hourly and 4 hour time frame. So that's what we call taking insurance, locking in profit before a key resistance where there's a wall sitting. You can re-enter if the bulls are powerful and are going to break that resistance to continuation. These days, I don't recommend that just because we haven't seen that kind of follow through that leads to significant gains on that kind of play. But that's a strategy to lock in profit and anticipate some pullback. So let's look at Litecoin, the leader of the bounce, because we have bounced from 100 to 152. So we saw a 50+% bounce on Litecoin, and just comparatively to Bitcoin, Bitcoin was down at 75, let's round, and got up to 95. So two out of 75 is certainly not 50%. It's not even close. So a much more significant bounce on Litecoin. But again, that volatility is there, and it's a different beast if you're trying to trade with the liquidity. But certainly the gains can be there. So let's look at, we don't have an inside bar, so the bulls got the follow through like Bitcoin. We're going to be trading closer to Bitcoin than Ethereum. We have our higher low and higher high. Again, inside bar bear break, inside bar bull break on this 4 hour time frame, higher low clearly established. And this is now, again, I probably already said it, but it's really important for this 4 hour higher low. This is the must hold level for the rest of this bounce. And we have to form another higher low on the 4 hour and keep this higher low, higher high pattern and shift going. Inside bar is forming on the 4 hour time frame, and we're looking at the hourly chart. Healthy consolidation at this point. Let's see what the 15-minute looks like in comparison. Equilibrium pattern playing out. So the key levels, I'll go over these key levels on all of them for the equilibrium on the 15-minute. And then I got to get this video out before it's not relevant. So 141 key support, 150.60 is key resistance. That's the channel on the equilibrium pattern. Let's check in on Ethereum real quick. Support is 944, resistance is 984, and again I'm just rounding a bit. And looking at the 15-minute for Bitcoin, support is $953, resistance is $9,375. So we'll see how this plays out. I'm going to get this out. I appreciate you watching. Have a great weekend. Do good things, all the good stuff, and